1. Hey guys, this is Dardamos with Dardamos Dominions, and you might be seeing that we're in the previous episode, and that's because we missed something last time. Balin, you're going to be my co-host for today. What do we see here?
Oh, yeah. Alm finally decides who he's going to attack this episode. You can see there's 3 Almish armies totaling about 200 troops, and they're all on Vanheim's borders.
Okay, and the other guy that's in the south and also thinking about hitting Vanheim, possibly, is my other co-host, Grippa. Say hi, Grippa.
Yellow.
Okay, and also hitting Van from the north and probably going to have our big battle is Novell. Say hi, Novell.
How's it going, folks?
We have Perrin is off making lunch, but he will join us again later. And then we have Sakane. How are you doing, Sakane?
Hey, everybody.
Okay, Sakane, I want your guess as to who's going to win this fight this turn.
Well, actually, I haven't seen the armies, so I actually don't know what's going to square off against what here.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of Dwarven Smiths, a bunch of Van Herses, Einhirs, Vans, you absolutely don't know the magic, versus this.
With the same levels of tech. They are tied on the research graphs.
Yeah, so this is actually a good lesson for everybody. So first of all, and let's remind everybody what the bless is for Ermor and what the bless is for Van.
So Blood Vengeance on Ermor and...
Ermor's bless is going to take a little bit. Novell, you're up.
All right, so this ridiculous bless was designed specifically for YouTube. It is magic weapons, fortitude, blood vengeance, berserk, undead regeneration, 4 points of undying HP, and I think that covers it. I think that's about it.
No shock resistance, right?
No shock resistance, no fire resistance, no elemental effects at all.
Okay, and what about the Van Bless?
Elemental, if I remember correct, or elemental resist.
Yeah, could we double check?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a rainbow with attack, magic weapons, a lot of resist, although no fire resist, some defense, strength, blood surge. Okay, so just like a classic rainbow. Importantly, no dark vision, right? Or spirit.
Dark vision 50.
Oh, dark vision.
Okay. Did they take it? Okay.
All right. So, looking at just the blesses, it's a murder bless from Ermor. It's stronger, but the key thing, which somebody else has mentioned, is tech. So, when you take a murder bless, and this doesn't have to be Ermor, you're really counting on the Sacreds to do a lot of the work and less so on your tech. And honestly, with Ermor's army, he has enough respawn that it doesn't really matter if he's going to do like more Skella spam, whether he has enchantment 5, doesn't really matter at this point. I would say that the best tech that maybe he could have is if he was going to do darkness, or maybe if he had like shock resistance or something like that, which he doesn't have in the bless. But the tech is super key here for Van, because at this point in the game, what turn is this, by the way?
30.
Yeah. So
you can see their research right here, by the way. Van is finally caught up.
Yeah, war since turn 10, though. Keep in mind that.
Yeah. So at this point in the game, as Van, you have to have either Conjuration 5 or Evocation 5 or both. As a big air nation,
he has neither, by the way.
Well, exactly,
he went alteration.
Look, I can get behind Fog Warriors, maybe, but that's not your early power spike as Vanheim, right? It's big air elementals. Big air elementals just wreck shit. And you can summon a bajillion of them as Vanheim, and that would be really ideal here. Alternatively, Thunder Strikes is great, but Fatigue versus Ermor is tricky. So now that I know that he doesn't have big air elementals or Thunder Strikes, but against Ermor, air elementals would be the better choice. I'm on Team Ermor.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious myself. I don't remember how this fight turns out. And what's interesting about this is that you can talk to an experienced player and you you've got an idea, but you don't always know how things are going to turn out. Zan, are you with us? Did you get back?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Zan, you're back with us. I mean, if you don't know how the fight's going to turn out and you're not 100%, do you take the fight?
If I was Van in that position and I saw every other army in the game was on my borders, unfortunately, I would back up for a second.
Okay.
I can't afford to lose, especially how I've seen them playing, where they just throw everything they have, and if they lose, they have nothing. If he loses that fight, he loses the game.
So this is the turn Grippa messages us and says, I think I need to attack either Marignon or Vandenheim because Zach called me a coward. That is still on his mind, Zach. 4 months later, you've affected him that deeply.
It's been more than 4 months, I think.
Okay, so I want to go back. I want to take a step back, and we're kind of getting away from the big showdown for this turn. But we need a story behind this. Grippa, what's going on with this whole "I'm not a coward" thing?
I didn't do casting, as I mentioned, I think, in the previous video. And basically, that was my first multiplayer game, actually, ever. Aside from, like, one that I had just started at the same time, as in 2 at the same time for my first game. Don't do that, kids. So, basically what happened was, long story short, I got spooked by my neighbors because I did not think I had the means to fight them. So I spent 90 turns doing nothing, except building up units and researching, and that's basically it. And Lucid and Sakanai there casted the game, and in one of the turns, Sak casually called me a coward, which was not unreasonable. But I have taken that to heart and have done my best to not be a coward.
I do believe. I think we went over this, and those were not my exact words, were they?
You said coward.
Yeah, they were.
They were.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Coward.
I stand behind them. I think they were an objectively accurate description.
They were accurate. I am not upset that they were wrong.
Okay, I've got the question for the game and for this turn. Sakanai, it's turn 30. He has attacked nobody except for a single fort from Ashdod that's already dead. Do you stand by that you still stand by these words?
Oh, you mean like his play in this game?
Yes.
I haven't actually followed like the whole game, so it's really hard to say. I think under certain circumstances, it could be totally legitimate to wait until turn 30 to move really forcefully and have your first war. Most of the time you'll act earlier, but it can still be a perfectly good way to do it. And honestly, the way we talked about this just last episode, how he was placing troops on his border to discourage Airmore from attacking him, right? So, you're like, there's a clear evolution from the like, oh, everything's scary, I'm just going to stay in my cap, to like, how am I going to like exert influence, on my neighbors by doing things. So, let's see how things turn out.
So in other words, since he's in the call with us and since he's here, he's not a coward. Is that correct?
No, I mean, he could. I just don't know. Like, I don't know enough about the game. Maybe he is still a coward in this game. I don't know.
Well, as his teammate, I would like to admit Zan and I have been on his back about 301 troops, just chilling in his cap for 7 turns.
Yes, because we're about to get attacked by another cohort that's literally on my border. Leave me alone.
We found that out like maybe a turn or 2 ago.
In hindsight, he was right.
In hindsight, but in foresight, he was not. Roll the turn.
If he would have had those 300 troops, we'd be a little further along than we were. But we're a bit off topic there.
Grippa, we need to bring you back for the next one so that you can take Ashdod with Bloodblend, Regen, Fortitude, and then sit on your cap for 20 turns.
Death Skills Ashdod, yeah.
No, we can just bring back the newscasting games, and I can sub in for him as Utgard, and he can go play as Gath.
Hey boys, I would like to point out that the fight did happen, and that we have got the epic fight. I think we're going to take the entire fight in silence. I want you guys to point out things that you see, but I don't want you to comment on them. So if you see something that happens that kind of might affect the battle, let me know how you, or kind of point them out.
We can save our comments for the end.
So we mostly have Winds of Memories is what?
Okay, that's because he has air as his highest path. Can you just quickly it's important to see the number of commanders and mages on each side. So can you just do F1C?
Oh, that's a okay, I was looking here. Okay,
And
I
then
think
hit
it's the
C.
same force that we saw last time. And then C? Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that'll give only the commanders. So we can see roughly so we got like a nice core of dwarven smiths here for Van. We've got a ton of Van here. So he's like bringing all his mages, in other words, right? Like Van Jarl's a bajillion mages.
This is everything. This is everything Van has within 3 provinces.
And whereas on Airmore's side, there's like no magic support. There's like you gotta bless them and give them their little buff. But
That
that's
is everything that's there.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. Sorry. Continue. Now we know kind of what to expect here.
Okay, I just saw what is he casting with his dwarves? Is this was that Legions of Steel?
Oh no.
He's starving?
Click the Van Helsing.
I did see something was.
Yeah, one of them was starving.
I missed it.
Oh no.
Yeah. Sorry,
You
guys.
can click the Einhers, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh no.
it's over here towards the closer to the screen. It's over here.
Oh.
It should be one of those.
All right. So
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Yeah, but just a little bit of starving. There's only 1 or 2 guys. Looks like.
Yeah,
So
it's not the entire army. I hadn't been able to depopulate the area before this battle really kicked off.
Okay, so we got Strength of Giants coming out.
So yes, they're just Legions of Stealing and Strength of Giants.
So.
Do you want
keep
to
it.
keep it going?
No.
Okay.
Well, we can keep it going.
Oh, we have Elder Elemental. Oh my goodness,
Yeah, but
look
they're
at that.
lesser.
Okay, but they're
They're
They
mini
won't do
air
much.
elementals, so they don't do much. There's a huge difference in power between big elementals and little elementals, because elementals trample, so that's important, and also because when you kill them, they just go down to their smaller size. So size 6 elementals actually have a lot of survivability.
so the air elementals have come
Three
down
additional
from.
lives.
So they're not doing that much.
They get
There's a lot of
poked once and then they can't do anything.
yeah.
Okay, what are these red lines that are going across the screen?
That
That's
is
blood
blood.
vengeance.
Okay, so that's the Blood Vengeance. That means that some of his mages are getting zapped.
Yep.
There's a lot of really interesting scripting here. That
Do you mean interesting as in like interesting bad or interesting good?
well, no
Interesting bad.
things that could have. I mean, he's doing nothing terrible and nothing great. Van is right. And given what I see now from how Ermor is scripted, there are some really interesting things I think that Van could have done to maybe win this.
What's interesting
even-
is the center line is now gone, but it's still held up on like pieces.
Yeah, they're berserkers. They won't route.
Wasn't like the center's crumbled, but there's still pieces of a Vanheim defense up here in front. So are we seeing? Is this looking like it's an Airmore loss? Correct?
Even if Novell loses this fight, it's a win for Novell.
Indeed, that was my feeling about the matter.
Yep.
And
which is why I would have backed up from this fight, because man, Van's wide open now to everybody.
I
who's
actually-
already
so-
going for him.
I actually think that. So basically, this is a bit of a Pyrrhic victory, right? We'll have to look at the tab.
Yeah, I think we can actually
later.
watch her. Okay. Oof.
Okay, not as. Okay, it's pretty bad, but yeah.
RCK, good to see you in here, by the way.
Oh, hey, it's good to be here. Saw y'all were
That's-
still on, so I figured I'd join.
This is a Scalarius player. Perrin, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, cool. Perrin, when you look at this, what are the big losses for Vanheim? They're saying that this was kind of a Pyrrhic victory, but I mean, you see how like 1,000 guys here and only 165 guys here. Why is this a Pyrrhic victory?
Because 50 vans are gone, because 73 Einheers are gone, because like the mages also hurt, like 4 Van Yals and 7 Van Herses is something. Most of that Ermorian force is replaceable. The Lictors are not, at least not easily. Those are death gems. The chaff he'll just get back over time. But this is a loss because anyone who saw this battle is going to now think Van is weak, and can certainly be tempted. I would think at this point.
So
especially this is all they had.
not Agartha. Alm didn't even need to wait to see this battle. They went in the same turn as this battle.
Because they predicted this battle would happen or something like it would happen? That makes sense.
So I just wanted to throw something out there, which is, so this is not like sort of an acceptable victory, right, for Vanheim, but just in terms of the scripting of the fight, there's something that Vanheim could have done. And you notice that Vanheim scripted a ton of Banish, right? And then he did some little air elementals, and like that was his strategy, right? But the air Banish is a very wide AoE with pretty small damage, which is fine. But honestly, Vanheim's troops, both the Einheers and the Vans themselves, are pretty high quality troops, and he has Earth Mages to buff them too. So he doesn't really need to be relying, like ghouls are bad, like they'll die to Einheers. So he doesn't need necessarily to be using all these mages for Banish spam, although he can, but he doesn't have to. Given the script that, because he's seen this army move, he saw it attack before, so he kind of knows how the army is scripted. Honestly, what I would have done with the like 30 Vans that he had, the Van commanders, is sure, like banish whatever, but I would have done like self buff. Like I would have done, obviously you bless yourself, but that's probably done with Divine Blessing. You're going to do, use the air gem for mist form, mirror image, flight, attack rear. 35 Vans on attack rear in this fight would have absolutely deleted all of Airmore's commanders.
Agreed.
He only had a few Lictors in the back. And his troops, he has Einheers. They're going to stay forever in front, right? He'll be fine. And then once all the undead commanders are dead, the whole Airmore army routes. And the key here is that you have to end the fight early so that you don't take all those losses, right? Now, it would be better to do like big air elementals, or, I think big air elementals are probably better than that strategy, but I think this would have been a really good move in this particular case. So that's what I wanted to throw out there. It's a odd situation to be in. Like Van not having Conjuration 5 is pretty awkward, but given the situation he was in, I think a big attack rear with the Van commanders would have just wrecked Airmore pretty early on, and therefore made this a pretty good win.
I want to hit on something that you said, because we have seen this formation, and this formation has been, I remember because it's the pretty lines and they look really cute. Griffa, when you're moving a big army out and you actually attack a place, do you change your army like positioning or your scripts or anything when you're moving a big army and your opponent sees it?
Positioning all the time. I'll move cavalry from the top to the bottom to wherever. I'll play a little bit with the front lines, pretty hard to do with that, but definitely move the mages around if I can, to prevent people from being like, oh, if I just focus everyone in one spot, I can get them.
Zan, how about you? Do you do the same thing?
Sometimes, not always, but usually if I'm doing if you've noticed already, I'm a big fan of attack rear tactics when I have cavalry. I'll make a flank a lot harder hitting. And I can swap that around, but usually the front line is there to chill. In my view, I won't often have a cavalry down the middle. Let's do this way.
Sakane, when you see, because we saw, we just got, let's go with Balin on this one. Balin, if you see a guy who's been moving like this multiple times, and you know the next battle's going to be the big battle, and he knows the big battle's going to be the big battle, do you think that he will change his script, or will you try to counter the script that you saw the previous turn?
if you count on Dominion's players making smart decisions, you're better off sticking in your cap the whole game. People make mistakes all the time, and not changing your battle script in an important battle is one key mistake that gets made more often than one would admit. So I would have most likely found some way to get my vans, like Zach said, behind him and into his cavalry commanders.
So this formation, just to speak to this point, is actually designed to deal with that. That is actually the purpose of this formation. If you'll notice, the Knights of the Unholy Sepulchre are way at the back. They are the rearmost troop. And
Yeah,
you
but
also see that they are moving through troops to try to get to the front. It was entirely my thought that I would be dealing with elementals as well as flying vans, get the flight basically. So what's happening here is that there are all of the sensor commanders are at the very rear, and the knights and the javelins are at the rear as well. The knights are set to attack rear. If you fly back on an order on attack rear when my units haven't crossed the midway point of the field, they'll actually turn back around and attack the landing troops.
Yes, but by the round after 5 turns of casting and then attack rear, your troops will already be past the midpoint.
Right. Well, there's once again another thing planned for that. The character that matters the most here with this army is the Arch Censor, and the Arch Censor is not Arch Censor, the Archbishop. The Archbishop is set for to cast 3 spells and then advance and cast.
Second, how do I get the round number on here?
Control C.
Control C.
So I think, what Novell is saying here is Novell is doing what he can to protect against a flying attack rear. But look at this. This is battle round 4.
Oh my
goodness. If 30 vans land right now on attack rear and the next turn, the bishop is dead. And it's also just this. It's the sandwich effect too, right? It's that not only are those commanders in the back dead, but they're going to be deleting stuff from the back while the sacreds are deleting stuff from the front. And it's really just about Vanham won the fight. It just took too long, right?
Yeah.
So he needs to, and if those Knights of the Sepulchre if some of them do turn around to fight the van commanders in the back, that's fine. That's fewer knights that the sacreds in front have to kill, right? So this is still. I'm just saying, Novell scripted as well as he could, but without any mage support of his own, it's really hard to deal with attack rear commanders because you can really time carefully when they land. In other words, you can land on round 5 and 6 instead of round 2, which is where you're in a good position for hold and attack closest.
That is true.
Yeah.
They're not as easy to pop as one might believe. The Bless gives them quite a bit of durability. The troops that are back there are enough to survive for quite some time.
Yes, but not against 30 vans.
So let's go into.
You would have been hit with 37.
So you just saw this battle. I'm sure Novell probably posted this to the board. Perrin, who was this a win for diplomatically?
Scaleria. This is a diplomatic win for Scaleria or whoever else is the leader in the game, because it tells people a couple of things. If they have had a hankering to fight Ermor and the only thing that was holding them off was fear, then they're now confident with those lictors gone that they may be able to make a play. Anyone who was tossing up between, if I'm Ulm, I can attack Scaleria and do the right thing to avoid losing the game, or I can now go kill Van and take all their juicy gold and gems for little resistance because their army's gone. I know that Van has no magic because they weren't using large air elementals, and they just lost all their troops, and their troops are the bulk of their offensive power, so I can roll in there. So if I'm Scaleria, I'm just being really, really quiet right now and hoping that people's vulturing instincts takes hold. Or they see an opportunity to go crusade against Ermor. The game leader is the biggest beneficiary of this. because big bloody wars between people who are in the middle tiers, great for you.
We have the
back to that
Scaleria
Scaleria
player
point.
with us. So can
You will
we
see that
actually talk to
Scaleria
the
has moved
I know,
his
Val, hold on
undead
just
out
a
of his
second.
cap.
Oh, I'm sorry, who is it?
You will
Scaleria.
see that has moved his undead out of his cap last turn.
Sorry, RCK, are you there, dude?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you get to actually see this battle?
Yes, I saw all the major battles that Ermor and Vanheim did have.
How happy were you that this happened?
You say what?
How happy were you that this happened?
Oh, very happy, because that wasn't the only. I believe that wasn't the only big battle they had. I think they had another one later on, but knowing that their largest armies pretty much are gone, that kind of put me in front. I thought at the time, because I mean I really haven't lost anything at this point in the game.
Now, are you planning on jumping onto Vanheim, or are you looking like? I mean, you could go vulture some of this stuff really easily, or are you looking in another direction?
At this point in the game, I was actually looking towards Ulm because right now I had a nap 3 with Vanheim. So even if I decided to end it there, they still had a 3 turns. So I didn't have anything with Ulm. So I planned on moving north at this point in the game.
Did you see them attack Van?
No, I had no idea Ulm was attacking Van at that time. I didn't have many scouts in that area. I was just watching Ermor and Van fight. I think I had a couple of scouts over there. But I did notice that he had some troops east of the bridge. I did know that he had some provinces over there. That's about as far as I knew.
Grippa, did you see this fight?
Absolutely.
And did you so wait, hold on. We have like 20 scouts sitting here, right?
Wait, Grippa, how'd you see that fight? Fatist doesn't get scouts. That's like their national debuff.
Provinces I can recruit
Maybe
scouts
we got
from.
Andy
I can
Scout
recruit
because I
scouts
didn't.
from that province that's currently bordering Ermor on that mountainside. I've been pumping out a guy from there since I took that province, and I have a scout in every single Ermor fort, and all the way down through the Van, and I have sent some through Ashdod to see like where I'm going to attack. That's
So what was your
that
thought at the
message
end of
was
this?
last turn. Last turn, I
What-
think the message like microing these scouts is the bane of my existence because I had so many of them, and I can understand why Lucid doesn't like scouts.
What was your thoughts at the end of seeing this of this fight? What were your thoughts?
Ashdod is mine. At that, then I think that this exactly when I decide that I'm not going to attack Marinyong. I'm going to attack up and take Ashdod and all that territory of Van that I can.
So right now, to rehash, because by the way, Pan came out and hit all 3 of these. You were right; he did hit the fort last time, and so he's taken the fort. He's taken these other 2. So Mari and Pan are at war for Fallen. How many turns do you think this will take?
It's a citadel, and he lost all his maenads last turn. So I say another at least 6 turns before he even moves on Marignan itself.
So we're looking at about anywhere from 6 to 10 turns before Pan can move to their next target. Correct?
Yep, and we're about to see Scaleria finally drop the undead horde. Because look back at his capital. Look on the province of Scaleria, and what do you see?
I want to keep moving with this because I'm gonna get to that. That's kind of where I'm going to. Ermor's attacking Van. Ulm's attacking Van. Zatis attacking Van. The only person that we haven't mentioned is Scaleria. And Scaleria now has the option to hit anybody that he wants, and everybody is at war. So any war that he joins, anybody that he attacks at this point, is somebody that's already at war. What is the chances of us seeing a parent? How do you fix this situation? Take any other player. How do you get everybody to jump onto Scaleria at this point?
I think this situation, to me, is so painfully clear that anyone else should be able to make the argument. Ulm is probably in the best position to do it because they have the initiative in their conflict with Vanheim. And if Ulm does a little bit of a self-check and goes, look, if I kill Vanheim, all I'm going to do is end up fighting Ermor anyway, so there's no point in me killing Van's stuff to then have to do that job myself. that would probably cause Ulm to do a little check and go, wait a minute, maybe the infinite skeletons on my board are a problem. And from there, they could probably be the best bet for setting up a coalition. I think you'd have to tell. Ideally, you would have gotten to Pangea earlier, Pangea and Marignon, and said, both of you guys need to come in on this, and we need to deal with Scaleria now. Pangea's attack on Marignon confuses me diplomatically. Like, yes, you can win this. That Marignon's resources are well designed to fight Scaleria. They're available. They border them. They have every reason to go along with it, and you can always kill them afterwards. So
Marignon attacked Pan.
God.
This is Pan punishing a poor decision.
Oh, well then Marignon, Marignon, I would have bargained with my anti-undead prowess and said, guys, come in on this because it's a good idea. I think the community as a whole understands that Scaleria is special in that they scale so effectively. If you leave them alone, they're going to punish you. But even in this situation, even in this late stage with these wars already started, I would make a genuine effort to tell people to, look, freeze the borders, let's go deal with this critical issue or it's going to punish us.
Let's move to Sakane real quick. Sak.
So, Elk, before you show Scaleria's stacks, do you want to pull up the army graph just so we can see when we pass the point of no return?
That's a good idea. So that you guys know, this one that's going really, really high is Scaleria, and this one that is starting to slow up and has taken a hit from this attack is Airmore.
Yeah. Well, Novelle's been doing his best to keep parity or be better than Scaleria, which has allowed RCK to glide under the radar right up until he loses that big fight with Vanheim, which leaves RCK miles ahead of anyone else.
But the difference is, can we go back to the graphs one moment? Click over to research. Because this is the difference.
Oh, jeez, that's a very good point.
Now, where's Scaleria? See, Scaleria is in the upper part of the band, and that is the difference. Scaleria's hordes and hordes of undead have magical support, and they will get more as the game goes on, and that's what makes Scaleria different.
Sakane, I want to hit a real quick question on this, because, like, my first game that I ever got in, there was a big threat. I mean, it was a Niflheim that was just humongous, and, I mean, I told everybody, hey, he's winning the game, he's a couple thrones away, we all need to turn, and I keep telling this, and their response to me was, he's too big for me, he's gonna kill me if I go to war with him. How do you convince, especially newer players who are scared of the game leader, how do you convince newer players to jump on that bandwagon?
Yeah, that's a big challenge, and also it is a bit different with like a special nation like Scaleria or like one of the cancer nations like Airmore, for example, and like just whatever nation happens to be the big game leader who's about to win, right? It can be, even if you're doing your best and being very rational and trying to explain it, it can be difficult if you go back to when you were a new player. Imagine somebody tells you, no, we have to all collaborate to attack this guy who's huge. You might not see how that's going to benefit you and also how you're going to pull it off. Or for that matter, if we're starting a new game and I tell you, okay, guys, everybody, let's go kill Scaleria on turn 12. Like, to me, that's obvious. It's a no-brainer. It's what you do. But if you're not as experienced a player, maybe you haven't experienced Scaleria. You haven't had the authentic Scaleria experience yet. And you don't quite believe how bad it's going to be, right? So that can honestly be very frustrating for more experienced players. On the other hand, that's kind of why we do a lot of these YouTube videos, so people can see this and they don't have to experience it firsthand. But, you know, if you play a game as Scaleria or as Airmore or one of those nations, then you should expect that everybody's going to try to kill you. And if you join a game with one of those nations, you should feel no shame about ganging up on those nations. Those players knew exactly what they signed up for when they joined the game.
And Balin, can I put Balin, were you there for the last tournament game with the Dreamers where the Scaleria player got subbed out because he was upset about this?
Yeah. So
Okay, tell that
newer
story real
players
quick.
who pick Scaleria or Irma as their, or Therados, or heavens forbid, Lemuria as their first nation, generally don't understand why every other single nation in the game might just stop at the drop of a hat and go murder them. Because they think, oh, we're all on equal footing. There's about four, okay, we'll count Asphodel. There's 5 nations in this game that play asymmetrically to everyone else. And that is Ermor, Asphodel, Therados, Lemuria. I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, and Scaleria.
Scaleria. I wouldn't count Asphodel, maybe Lanka. But...
It's just because of their ability to either outscale, Nazca too, their ability to either outscale everyone like Nazca and Scaleria, or their just cancerous ability to just destroy pop, income, resources, recruitment points, everything that every other nation needs to do stuff.
So, were you there with the game that Scaleria got subbed out because they got so upset? Like, they rage quit because, like, 2 or 3 nations attacked.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's in the sub won that game.
Yeah, the sub ended up winning the game anyways.
Scaleria is designed to fight multiple opponents at once. It's entirely capable of doing it.
But but sorry, yeah, I diverted a bit from your original question, but I wanted to just make a small point, which is that in this game, if you let's ignore Scaleria for a moment, I wanted to point out that what the other players are doing to Ermor or to Van is, if Scaleria wasn't Scaleria, let's say it's just Man or whatever, some other nation there, I do think it's a good move, for example, for Ulm and Satis and everybody to go Vulture Van, because you are, first of all, it's just good for you, but also you are taking that away from Ermor, right? If you don't take it, Ermor's going to come and take everything. So in the absence of Scaleria, I do think that is the right move. But with Scaleria there as a player, I mean, now it's almost, I don't know how you undumpster fire this Diplo situation, but like the Pangea Marignan situation is tragic, like Perrin alluded to earlier.
It is even more tragic when you put in the fact Pangea ended his nap with Novell, and then Marignan on the same turn ended his nap with Pangea.
Yeah, no, that's a tragedy, because although I'm all for like killing Ermor early on, I think in this game you actually have to kill Scaleria first early on and then go kill Ermor. So that was just a mistake from all the players involved. And honestly, I don't know if it's possible diplomatically to undumpster fire this situation to team up against Scaleria.
I have one last question, and that's for RCK. RCK, I got one last question. You are told that you have to trade nations, so you gotta move from Scaleria, and you're gonna take over another nation, and then they get Scaleria. What nation would you take at this point?
I had to trade my nation. Maybe Satis.
Why is that?
I just feel like at this point they were really positioned well in the game, since they haven't had any early wars, and they were also vulturing most of half of Vanheim, I believe.
And I wanna follow up with that, because you do say Satis. Grippa, did you feel like you were worthy of being subbed in for Scaleria, and that you should have been the first pick?
Say I was actually at this point in a fairly strong position. I finished getting Enchantment 5. I had Foul Vapors. I had Twiceborn, been starting to Twiceborn my guys. I had been producing Falchineers, like that was my day job, as well as the Sacreds. I felt like I was in a pretty strong position right now.
Okay,
I want to pick up one point. Did you not get Enchantment 5 until turn 30?
No, I've had that for a while.
Okay.
I'm fairly sure I sent the message saying
I was deeply concerned for about 5 seconds.
No. I've researched up. I don't remember what I went for next. It's been a while. But,
okay, I know that I said that was the last question, and we're running out of time, so let me do this really quick. Novell, who's in second place behind Scaleria if you think Scaleria is in first?
If Scalaria's in first, who's in second place?
Yeah.
Well, it would definitely be Van, though after that fight, I was pretty sure I had beaten them, so I guess if we take them off the list, it would be Satis.
So you think do you think Satis is above you at this point, even though you won that battle, kind of ish?
Yeah, because so the biggest issue about this was that the way that I scale versus the way that Scalaria scales is a little bit different. It's been too long for me to hit critical mass in this game. I need it to, if I can get to 20 Death Gem income in the middle of year one or by the end of year one, which is like early site searching, building temples and stuff like that. I'm really hard to end. I don't care about how much research Scalaria ends up getting until they get to like the end of the schools, because at that point every turn I'm generating 20 plus lifters, and there's a lot that can get done with that, even in the face of like incredible magic. But that is not this game. So I was pretty sure that even if I did take Van, I was hoping that he had site search depth. That's how that fort came up, and that everything that was around him might have a depth site in it because none of my stuff did. To try to get back in on this, but I wasn't feeling confident in my ability to win, just in my ability to beat Van.
Now, I do all of this and I ask all these questions because I think that there's a point to be had here. Scalaria had if you watch the earlier episodes, we argued that Scalaria had one of the worst starting locations there were. Satis had some disastrous, expansions. And even though these two players had disastrous expansions and bad start locations, they both persevered, they both worked hard, and they both got to a position where arguably they're the number one and number two player. And so I think that one thing that new players need to take away from this is that you can still come back from an early expand. And on that, I'm going to end. I want to thank Balin. Thank you again for joining with us.
No worries. I'm always happy to help.
And thank you for keeping me on task and giving me a couple ideas onto where to look. I appreciate that. Grippa, thanks again for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Novell, thanks again for showing us a little bit of undead mastery.
Yes, sir.
Perrin, thanks again for your diplomatic mastery.
No worries, mate.
RCK, I'm glad to have our driver, the guy in the driver's seat, to be along with us.
Yeah, I was glad I was finally able to show up.
Sakane, thanks again for your expertise. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Zan, thanks for joining us after eating. Glad to have you at the end here too.
That was a fun time. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Well, I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a good one. Bye.